Hello everyone, welcome back to SAP TechnoManiac. This is the third part of SAP Fiori Elements series. In my last video, we deep dived into SAP Floorplans, how these Floorplans help us to build apps without writing UI5 code. If you haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend check it out. In this video, we will go one step deeper. We will look into the architecture of SAP Fiori Element and understand the 5 core building blocks that make this metadata driven UI magic happen. From flow plan and OData service to annotation, configurations, and code extensions. By the end of this session, you will know how all these pieces come together to deliver powerful, scalable, enterprise ready apps with almost zero UI code. Let's jump right into it. How did the idea of SAP Fiori Element get born? Initially, when SAP come up with the SAP UI5 based application which is based on the JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, then they started developing their applications. When they developed number of applications, then they realized that it is very difficult to maintain the consistency of UI throughout their application. They have to train each and every developer. Not only that, it was taking too much time to develop each and every application. At that time, they realized that if we have to convert each and every application from SAP GUI to the UI5 applications, it will gonna take huge amount of time. Not only that, SAP customers also they have to develop their applications, developing each and every application and writing the JavaScript code and debugging that is taking too much time. That time they come up with the idea. They already know based on their experience which they have developed those applications. The most of the applications looks in front end almost similar. Why they can't write some already ready-made code and utilize again and again? Because they repetitively writing the same code in different application. Front end code, I'm talking about the front end code in different applications. The same JavaScript code. For example, they want to develop like the list report page, we have Floorplan. They develop multiple application like that for the purchase order, sales order, or process order. So they know they want to display the list, then they want to do the card operation. So this is the same kind of application. They were writing the same kind of UI5 code again and again. So instead of writing that code again and again, they created this Floorplan. So in that way, they no need to write front end code again and again. They wrote one time and given us this Floorplan. This Floorplan in backend, nothing. They have the XML views, they have the JavaScript code, everything they have that. But that is little bit dynamic one. Now this Floorplan act as a front end, is a, we can say, template. They will get the data from the backend, some data, and along with the data, they will get the metadata also in form of annotations. These annotations can be written in backend also, and these annotations can be written in front end also. Both the places they can write the on annotations. These annotations will help in the front end how your UI look like. So this is how the idea of the Fiori element got born. These are the 5 building blocks behind the metadata driven UI. First is the Floorplan. Floorplan decide how your layout should be displayed and structured and how your page will be behave. Means how you can click and you can go from one page to another place, how you can filter. These all things will be decided by your Floorplan, which we have discussed in my last video in detail. Second is the OData service. OData service bring the data for your application. Not only data, along with the data, it will bring metadata as well. Third is the OData annotation. This OData annotations help this applications that how your data will be displayed in front end, how your amount will be displayed. If you want to display in form of charts, how it will be displayed, all things will be decided using those annotations. Fourth part is the configuration. This is the most important thing again. If you don't want to make any code changes and still you want to alter your application, then the configurations are very useful. And last but not least, and very powerful one, if you need something which is not handled by your framework and you want to add your own functionality which Fiori framework is not giving, then you can come to the code extension. Let's begin with our first building block called Floorplan. However, we have discussed each and every Floorplan in detail in my previous video, but we will see how this Floorplan works at runtime. You can see the Floorplan is like a building block, means it's like a blueprint. In this blueprint, it have the space for all the UI element which will going to render. For example, we have the filter bar section where all the filters will be rendered. We have the body section where all the table will be rendered. In this Floorplan, we have already all the buttons and the navigation buttons pre-built. At the runtime, what will happen as soon as you launch the Fiori element application, the Fiori element processor read the OData annotations and metadata along with the configuration which you have defined in the front end and get all the information and read those, and based on this information it will render each and every UI5 element on the screen. Suppose you have defined the selection filter in your backend using the annotation. It will read that selection filter and that UI element of the selection filter will be rendered in the filter section. You have defined the lot of columns in the table in the sequence. Based on the sequence, each and every column will be rendered here. This is all the information coming from the backend, but the Floorplan also have inbuilt functionalities. Like Floorplan have the navigations. You can click on that your each line and it will take you to the object page. It have the Excel and PDF export functionality inbuilt. It have the functionalities like you can which table you have rendered, you can work with that table using, you can sort the data, you can filter the data, or you can group the data. Not only that, you can save that particular view using the variants that is also provided by the Floorplan. The most important thing, these Floorplans are responsive. They can work seamlessly on your desktop, tablet, or mobile. It will adjust accordingly based on your size. If you tell me if you want to build the responsive application using the CSS, HTML and JavaScript which I have done long back, it is very tedious work. You have to give the percentage values to define each and every element of your UI and it is very tedious. But here it happens and it will be done seamlessly without writing single line of code. So this is how Floorplan works. Second important pillar or building block for our SAP Fiori Element application is OData Service. What is OData Service? OData is the RESTful based API which will help to interact your Fiori application to get the data or modify the data from the backend. It will work over HTTP protocol. It will use the HTTP methods like get, post, put, delete, and actions as well. It will interact with the backend, get the data, and modify the data. If you don't know about the OData, I have explained the concept of API, what is API, what is web API, And what is the OData service? How OData service is a RESTful API. This all the concept in my OData playlist initial 5 videos. If you are working on SAP Fiori Elements, you should know OData basics properly. You should know how the query options work. How from the front end system we are calling the backend queries. How we are applying the filter. How we are sorting the filter. How we are getting the data. If you have used data, how we are using the select query, how we are using the order by, group by, or filter queries. These all things you should know, because whenever you will interact with your Fiori element application, each time one OData call is happening to get the data or modify the data. For example, most of the time we are calling the $batch query option of the OData. If you don't know how $batch works, then you will be not analyze the your application, that what it is happening in backend. Because sometime when we develop the applications and some issues are coming, you are getting some error due to the backend. Now backend developer will ask, what is the OData service? If you don't know how to find that OData service and what HTTP method call is happening from the front end, then you will be not able to tell to your backend developer, and backend developer will be not able to analyze. To grasp that concept, you should go through my OData playlist. No need to go through entire playlist. Just go through the some of the parts like initial 5 videos to understand the basic concept, major query options, which I have explained when I develop CDS through OData, like normal card operations and normal query options like the order by, filter, group by, $batch, how e-takes works. These all concepts you should know, because ultimately using these concepts only you are calling your OData service from the front end. Even you are not calling, your framework is calling when you are developing your query element using the OData service. Now, most important thing, the role of the OData service, it give the data. Second, it will give the metadata also. Metadata help the Fiori framework to render the UI element properly in the front end. How you can create the OData service? There are a number of ways you can create the OData service. You can, in SAP, you can create the OData service normally using the SCGW. You can create the SCGW project and create the OData service if your version is less than 7.4. If you're having version 7.5 and above, and you can create the CDS, then you should create the OData service using the CDS plus SCGW. CDS will do all the query option, read only query option by default for you. Only you have to write the code for the create, update, and delete, that in MPC and DPC classes of the SCGW. Now, third is the BOPF. Again, these all things, whatever I'm explaining, got absolutes. If you're working in older version, you have to create. The third thing is the CDS plus SCGW plus BOPF framework. The fourth is the RAP, latest and greatest one. If your S4 HANA version is 2021 and above, you should create your OData service using RAP only. That is the best way to create the OData service as of now. Apart from RAP and this all the option from the S4 HANA system, if you are creating your OData service in the BTP, or if you want to use side by side extensibility, loosely coupled application if you want to build, or if you want to build standalone application in BTP, you can use RAP also, you can use the CAP also, based on your expertise. If you are having the expertise in the JavaScript or Java, then you can go for the CAPM application. And if you are ABAPer, then definitely you have to go for the RAP application. Based on your expertise, you can go. And again, based on different use case also, you have to decide. Sometime some use case is easy to develop in CAPM, then you can go for the CAPM also. This is the how we can develop. There are different ways we can develop OData service. This is from SAP. Apart from the outside SAP also, IBM, Amazon Web Services. These guys also developing OData services using the RESTful API. There are those also you can consume in your Fiori Elements. Let's move to the third and most important building block called annotation. The annotations are metadata about metadata. Generally, when we talk about the metadata, means the data about data, that is called the metadata. For example, if you don't know what is metadata, for example, we have one table called Mara. In the Mara, we are what all are the fields can be possible. Those are the metadata. And actual data will be different. Actual data will be the what is the actual material number. That is the actual data. But for that material number, what is the field name? That is the matner. That is the metadata. So this is giving that information that what is the field name, what is the length of the data, what type of data, that is called the data about data. We call them metadata. But annotation will go one step further. This is the metadata of metadata. Let me explain. Suppose I have one field called the customer underscore ID. That particular field will metadata just give the information. This is the character type of field and its length is the 10. But annotation will give further information. This particular, what is the app for help for this particular field? What is the label for this particular field? Or we can edit this particular field or not? This kind of informations will be given by the annotations. So annotations, it will enhance the meaning of data. Whatever your data is having, it will enhance the meaning of data, what we can do with that particular data, how it will be displayed. It will help in our Fiori apps. This is the part of the architecture. Why? With based on this data only, our Fiori framework understand the how this particular UI field will be generated on the front end based on this particular metadata. So this is very important part of our UI, what we can say architecture. So it will help dynamic UI generation whenever we will run Fiori application. Most important thing, annotations don't change the data, but they will tell how you can change, or you can change or not, or how it will be displayed in front end. So this is all about annotation. Let's move on to the fourth building block of SAP Fiori element, that is called the configuration. Configuration means application specific setting. Through the annotations or through the backend annotations, whenever you define in the CDS, it will impact across all the applications wherever that particular CDS is used. But my requirement is that I want to change that particular application. I don't want to change the backend annotations, but I want to change that particular application only. So that is the reason the configuration setting, whatever we do, that is the application specific. And where you can do those setting, you can do in the manifest.json file. You have to go to the BAS, Visual Studio, wherever you are working. You can go and edit that manifest.json file. We can see this is we can say this is app descriptor files, UI descriptor files. We can tell it can be modified directly, or you can use the application modeler tool or UIFI using the guided tool. These all things are available in BAS as well and Visual Studio as well. We will discuss the BAS and Visual Studio in detail in upcoming video, but we can maintain this manifest.json file. But what all are the things we can do using this manifest.json file? Suppose I have converted one report to the Fiori list page. If you see the Fiori list along with the object page, whenever we convert that particular report to the Fiori list page, in the report or ALV report, we don't have object page. We just have the header all in one column, then the detail. But in other hand, the default application created by the list report page, they will not have all the headers. Only the important field will be have, other will field will move to the down. So that is because by default Fiori list repose page use the responsive table, and they use the navigation to the object page. I want to change that kind of setting. I want all the fields in one column, then all the values in another, all other columns. I don't want to move the values and field pair below the first line. For that, instead of using the responsive table, you have to use the grid table. That setting you can change in the manifest.json file. You have to change the table type. I don't want to navigate to the object page, then you can disable that navigation in the manifest.json file. That is called the configurations. These all are called the configurations. Apart from that, in backend you have defined some filtering and sorting. I don't want to do by default those filtering and sorting. I want to define my application specific filtering and sorting. That also you can do in the manifest.json file. You can disable the standard actions, like I don't want to give the user can add additional filters. We have the adapt filter button. I want to disable that one. That also you can do using this manifest.json file. Or you don't want to give the facility to the user to download that particular data in form of Excel, or you don't want user should display additional field apart from the fields whatever we have given by default. That button also I want to disable. Whatever the standard SAP Floorplan buttons you can disable using this manifest.json file, and you can modify those settings there, and you can control those all the things. This is one thing. Second advantage, in one, because CDS annotations work wherever you use that particular CDS. But if I want to change the application specific annotations, again not annotations, settings, that you can again change in the manifest.json file. You can alter based on your requirement. Again, this is the typical example. By the way, the developer who built the application in the bus, he defined the table as a grid table. But the guy, as a manager, he want to use that application in the some of the cases in the phone or tablet also. So he can convert that grid table to the responsive table using the key user extensibility. So these are the one of the typical example where we can do the settings in different layer, and the upper layer is this configuration file, and the annotation will come in the developer layer where the developer is changing. When the developer will change, it will apply across all the system wherever that particular CDS is used. So this is all about the configuration file. Fifth building block is the code extension. This is the part where we really need the knowledge of the UI file, what is view, what is fragments, what is controller. These all the things we need to know a little bit. No need to worry, we will learn those as well. But when actually this code extension is used, suppose you have given a lot of annotation in backend, you have adjusted whatever the possible things in the manifest.json file also, the configuration also, but still you are not able to achieve what user is asking. For example, one of the real-time scenario, you have developed one sales order application and you approved that particular order. For the you have created the approve action button and you have written the code, but whenever you click on the approve, you want to display one pop-up that you really want to approve this particular sales order, just for the information. That kind of facility we don't have in the standard annotation. Now when you click on that button, I have to write in the controller that code, and I have to create the custom fragment to display that particular pop-up. So these kind of things we have to do the code extension, where the annotations and configurations are not supported, or we are not able to use them to achieve that functionality. Sometime in the standard Fiori element itself, we can do this code extensions and view extensions. So this is very useful further. And we have to make sure this should be minimal, because whenever we do the upgrade, it can hamper our upgrade as well. So wherever the possible, in the minimal way, but still to achieve the functionality, because 90% of part we already built through the blue plans, and only the 10% to achieve the additional functionality, to aid the object page additional segment to display the informations which can't be displayed using the our standard annotations. I want to write some UI code and some UI elements I want to display, which is not supported by my annotations but it is supported by UI5. That code I can write and I can display the additional segment in the object page, and I can display. Not only that, I can write the code to trigger some action button to go to the another application, or trigger some event. Lot of things we can do using this code extension if our all current annotations are not supported. That is very important things. We have to use very minimal. So it we have to follow as much as using the annotations and manifest notations. If that is not satisfying, we still can do lot of UI5 code in our Fiori element applications. The key consideration we have to make sure, as I told you, whatever we are writing, it should be upgrade stable. Our UX should be consistent, and we have to consider the performance and stability, because we are writing our UI5 code. We have to make sure this all the things. So for these all the things, the SAP already provided the extension point, like we in the SAP ABAP, when we modify the standard application, we have the enhancement point sections and customer exit. In the same way, the extension point is already provided by the framework. You can go, you can use those extension, and you can extend your application as per your requirement. Do not override layout, structure, or control arbitrarily. It will hamper your upgrade. So these all the important things we have to consider. I also not much work on the JavaScript and the UI extension side, but I have the proper knowledge. I did lot of things, but not that much extensively, but I will try to explain. So this is all 5 building blocks. Let's summarize this all the 5 building blocks which we have discussed today. First one is the Floorplan, which define the UI layout and how your UI layout will behave. Second one is the OData Service, which provide you the backend data along with the metadata. Third one is the Annotations, which will aid the semantic meaning to your data. Fourth one is the Configurations, which where you can change your front end UI without modifying your backend code. Fifth one is the Code Extension. It aid custom logic or custom UI where whenever it is needed via safe extension point. Together, these components let you build modern SAP applications without writing UI code. Use annotations and configurations as much as possible. Only use code extensions when you really need them, and always through supported methods only. This is how you build clean, clean core compliant front-end applications. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, share it with your SAP circle, and subscribe to the channel for more deep dive. In the next video, we'll discuss about the Visual Studio and BAS, how we can use what all are the different tools available in that. Those all things we will discuss. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.